Okay, hello everyone. Welcome. We're finally back to the seventh part of the series. Um, we trust that the other six parts has been really informative for you. We're sure you've learned a thing or two. Um, yeah, so very much welcome. You can begin to share the link with other people who are meant to be here, so that they can join in. You could also like tell us where you're joining from, what part of the world. If you're within West Africa, what part of West Africa are you joining in from? So that we can get this on the road. Okay, so welcome. It's really a privilege to be here. My name is Israel Adeloye, and I'll be the moderator for this particular session. Okay, really excited to have you guys on board. Before I introduce the speaker and the speaker's bio and everything, I just want to let you guys know that we'll be having game session a game session later on at the end, right? So after we've had the speaker present on today's topic, which I would talk about, like I would mention the topic now, but after we've the speaker has spoken about that, we'll have a game session towards the end. So make sure you stay tuned, right, to the end because the winner of the game session will be able to get a particular gift from us. So you want to stay through to the end, all right? Cool. So today's topic is how to leverage Amazon Bedrock guardrails to build responsible Gen AI applications. How to leverage Amazon Bedrock guardrails to build responsible generative AI applications. All right. Okay, I can see Christiana from Lagos, Nigeria. I can also see Oreolua from Lagos, Nigeria. So I guess majority of our current population is within Lagos, Nigeria. Okay, I can see Elizabeth also from Lagos, Nigeria. It's like Lagos people are plenty. Let's go. We don't have Abuja people. We don't have Ghanaians. Charlie, all right, so I want to join us in. Okay, I think now I can read up the bio for this speaker. Okay, who else? Is there anyone else that wants to tell us where they're joining from? Okay. Okay, Chiamaka. I can see Chiamaka Ike. Chiamaka from Lagos. All right. Thank you guys for joining. It's going to be an amazing time. So, without further ado, I think I can read the bio of today's speaker. Okay, so it's Ayomide Odukoya. He's a security engineer with over 4 years of experience, specializing in application security, cloud security, and DevSecOps. Ayomide has designed and implemented security measures for various organizations, ensuring data and application protection. His expertise includes securing cloud infrastructures and integrating security practices into development workflow. And as a result, He holds a certification in AWS security specialty. Wow, round of applause, round of applause. Ayomide, a fun fact about Ayomide is that Ayomide loves to listen to podcasts when he's not securing applications. So without further ado, as we have today's topic, how to leverage Amazon Bedrock guardrails to build responsible GenAI applications, can we have Ayomide Odukoya? Round of applause. Can we cheer him on as he comes to the stage? Welcome, Ayomide. Welcome. Okay, I think we'll try to get Ayomide on stage. Okay, while Ayomide is coming on stage, welcome Jamal from Lagos. Okay, Ayomide,
Right.
welcome. I think we can see you.
All right. Nice to meet you, Israel. Thanks for the introduction.
All right,
Nice to meet everyone. I'm
all
excited
right.
to be here. Good evening. I'm here in Lagos, Nigeria. So good evening to everyone, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone else across the world. I'm excited to be here in this cloud security user group study series. I'm excited to present on how to leverage Amazon Bedrock guardrails and how we can use that to build responsible GenAI applications. Just a minute to see if you can see my screen so I can just get started. All right, thank you. Thank you. So, um, today we're talking on about how to leverage Amazon Bedrock guardrails to build responsible GenAI applications. And as I mentioned earlier, my name is Ayomide Odukoya, and I've been in security for I mean, just a little bit, right? Work at Resilience, where I build applications and help organizations build security applications, and also do a little bit of penetration testing. And I'm currently working on at Resilience, currently working on building an AI security platform, which provides application security expertise or guidance to engineers. So that's sort of kind of working with AI and testing AI and building AI, and that experience is what has made me come to give this talk today on how we can build responsible AI. But before we get into all of the building of responsible AI, and let's just go into first off what AI is, right? Gen AI, as we know, I call it Gen AI as a joke from a movie, right? But Gen AI, generative AI, what is generative AI? It's the rave of the world today in tech. And it's simply just we'll call it like a subfield of artificial intelligence where LLM models, large language models, and produce content, right? It's a subfield of artificial intelligence where these LLMs produce content. They produce the various forms of content. They're producing text, video, audio content. And because of this, right, it's, as I said, it's the rave of the tech world today. I read a statistic recently that 1 in 3 organizations use um, Gen AI models across at least one of its business functions, right? I'm sure most of us on this call, we've used different Gen AI models, right? Ranging from OpenAI's to Amazon's to Llama from Meta. Just we've done a lot of OpenAI. Sorry, we've done a lot of using Gen AI, right? And how does it work? How does Gen AI work? Basically, see, one of the things, and it's critical that we know this, is that I was talking with someone recently. Just I was talking with someone recently, and people think that, oh, the AI model literally understands what we are saying, like literally understands the full text that we're giving it, and in some sense, it does. But how it really works is that these AI models use learned patterns, so they form patterns within and relationships within huge data sets, right? And they use that to predict themes, right? They use that to predict either the next words in a sequence and things like that, right? And when it comes to images, so for example, a prompt is passed, like an input, which is a prompt, is passed to the model, and the model takes in the words that are being passed and also the context and how it's being passed, and then it uses that to predict the next few words that it would produce as model response, and that's how GenAI works. And I call it, as I said, GenAI. Um, and it's awesome, but it's also critical when it comes to the security of these new type of, I'll call it just new type of technology, to understand how that works and how that translates to us building secure applications, or also integrating um, artificial intelligence models even into our applications, how we build with it, how we test with it, and all these things. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Just wanted to give a brief introduction to that. And next up, we're just going to talk about Amazon Bedrock. And see, Amazon Bedrock in 2023, when artificial intelligence models were kind of introduced to the world, AWS introduced Amazon Bedrock, which is a fully managed service. And we'll come to what it means to be a fully managed service. But basically, what Amazon Bedrock does is that it provides us as engineers and developers access to these LLMs called foundational models also. So we can access these different LLMs, right? Amazon Bedrock gives us access to different models, from Anthropic's Claude to Amazon Titan to Amazon Nova to um, Llama, right? So different AI models, and it gives us access to integrate, build with these AI models, right? And because it is a fully managed service, it means that us as the users of these AI models, we don't have to worry about scaling infrastructure, about all of the servers, right? And one thing you would know if you're in the AI space is that these things are expensive. Like handling infrastructure for AI models can be really expensive to do. Amazon kind of takes care of all of that for us. So it's kind of just point and click, or if you're using programmatic access, just basically integration to the models, right? So just connecting with it, and you can use it directly. So that's what Amazon Bedrock does at its core, right? Provides access to foundational models that we can then integrate into our applications or build applications with. And Amazon or AWS being really one of the organizations that pushes the frontiers of responsible AI. One of the things that Amazon Bedrock also does is to ensure that we comply with responsible AI policies. First off, when Amazon is building with their own models, right, from Amazon Titan and Nova, they ensure that, oh, these things comply with responsible AI policies. But also, in terms of how we integrate with these models, how we build our applications with these models, right? Amazon Bedrock also ensures that we do this in a safe and an ethical manner, and that's why we have tools like guardrails, which we'll get into later. And also, one of the things that Amazon Bedrock also gives us is the ability to customize these AI models, right? So these AI models, because of how they're trained, how, like, because of their general models, right? So they're trained to be general models, and we can then just, if I'm, for example, if I'm a client in the healthcare industry and I want to use these artificial intelligence models, I can customize or fine tune these models to my specific use case, and we can use Bedrock to do that, right? So it offers tools for customizing and fine tuning models, and also easy integration with other services within AWS, and that's one of the many wonders of Amazon Bedrock, right? But that also introduces, definitely, right, security concerns, and Amazon has tools that just help us, that we can leverage as engineers, right, to build and access these um, AI models in a very secure manner. So we can access these AI models in a very secure manner. And one of these tools is guardrails, right? As I mentioned earlier, just to go back a bit, when I was talking about how generative AI works, it takes in a lot of the inputs, kind of in some way, some sense, affect what you have on your output, right? And because of that, um, we have to guard the kind of input that we pass into the models, right? And also guard the kind of response that we pass out of the models, right? Ensuring that these things align with responsible AI policies, that's one, but also ensuring that they align with our organizational requirements. So you don't want to have your AI application or AI model, which is, as I said earlier, in healthcare, and is meant to provide healthcare guidance, and it's responding with, for example, one, you don't want it to respond with a lot of biases. You don't want it to respond with a lot of negative words. That's one, in terms of responsible AI. But also, as an organization, you might just want it to be specific. You might just want it to give specific guidance to healthcare, and you don't want to provide guidance to something in fashion, or in what's the word now, in, let's say, music, right? You just want it to be specific to healthcare because that's what your organization deals with, and that's where tools like guardrails come in, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. How can we use guardrails, and why is guardrails really important, even as why is it important even as a tool in building responsible AI applications, right? And first off, right, what are guardrails? Generally, guardrails are, I call them like protective mechanisms that we use to um, keep people from falling or keep people from harming themselves, right? Or keep people on a particular path, right? So you would see guardrails on cliffs where people might be walking around in cliffs and there are guardrails that keeps people from falling, it keeps them on a particular path. So maybe a walkway have guardrails that keeps people on that particular path. And it's kind of the same concept when it comes to also how we apply guardrails in artificial intelligence, right? How that guardrails just ensure that AI models act in a safe and secure manner or act in a particular pattern that we want it to act. We don't want it to act out of just respond anyhow, right? And that's why we use guardrails. And it's very important. I believe that right now in building um, AI models or AI applications or integrating your applications with AI models, you must it's kind of essential now to always use guardrails, right? And specifically to AWS guardrails, right? AWS guardrails, I'll call them configurable policies that just define safe and acceptable interactions with AI models, right? So they ensure that um, these models that we are integrating with are aligned to responsible AI policies, are also aligned to our organizational standards, right? And I've just shared an example earlier, but also guardrails can help to block inappropriate content. And we'll go through that even in the lab session where guardrails help to define boundaries for AI behavior. It can help to detect right malicious prompts, so prompt injection attacks. You can use guardrails to detect this prompt injection, these malicious prompts, right? And also it helps to prevent the generation of inappropriate or harmful content. And I see guardrails as an additional safety layer before and even after your AI model, right? So, for example, you have your prompts, right, that you're passing to your AI models. So you have the input text that you want to pass to your AI model. So maybe you just want to ask it a question on, oh, how is the weather today? Your guardrails will check, right? So they act as some kind of filter for your prompts, ensuring that malicious prompts are not passed into the AI model. So it checks the inputs going into the AI models, right? And it checks according to what you've configured, like the policies that you've configured. It checks and it filters and ensures that only the things that you have allowed, the things you whitelisted can go in to your model. And also it checks the response from the model. So it checks before what's going into the model and also checks what is going out of the model. And it ensures that whatever is going out of the model also is not inappropriate content or harmful content or something that doesn't align with your organizational requirements, right? So you can see how it acts as a safety layer. Um, and you see, because of how guardrails work, right? Because of the kind of influence it has on your models and even on your application as a whole, it is important to ensure that you effectively implement guardrails. It is important that your AWS guardrails are effectively implemented because even from experience, personal experience, I've seen where you implement guardrails into your application and it begins to affect your user's experience. So, um, for example, let's just continue the example I shared, the healthcare example, right? And your user just asks it a general question, maybe, it says, what's the medicine for malaria? And because of how you've configured your guardrails, the response from your AI application can be very not aligned to what the user wants, right? So it can probably provide a response such as, I can't answer this question when it is meant to answer the question, right? So how do we effectively implement guardrails, right, to help secure application, but um also not allow it to affect our user experience? And one of the first things to do is to understand your organizational requirements. So you must align your requirements, like identify what are the things we want our AI applications to do, right? Identify your the requirements for your application. Also identify your risks, right? Identify what are the potential risks that can go on with this particular AI application, right? And once you've identified that, that kind of influences how you define your guardrail policies, which is the next step. And we'll go into that even during the labs session, which is walking through defining your guardrail policies, establishing and configuring your guardrail policies to ensure that they resonate with ethical standards and also your organizational requirements that you've already defined, and ensuring that OE complies. And next step is to test and refine your policies. It's almost I mean, it's, I would say you would have to, once you implement your policies, you'd have to test in a secure environment to ensure that your policies align with what the already established and configured guardrail policies align with what your customers want or what you want to achieve with your requirements, right? And this is something that you must test effectively. You must test over and over again, right? Test with real world interactions, test with feedback, right? To ensure and enhance your effectiveness. And I'll say the fourth step is to monitor your AI outputs. And now we have tools that can be applied to your CI/CD pipelines, and it can help implement continuous monitoring of your AI applications, right? So you have tools that check for malicious prompts, check for um, or say direct prompt injection attacks on indirect prompt injection attacks, and that just checks that your guardrail policies are well configured. That's just part of the third stage, but continuous monitoring of these guardrails and how they work and how it affects your AI application, right? So if you follow all these steps, right, you would have a wonderful, I would say, experience when it comes to securing your AI application, and also allowing it not affect how your users interact with your application, like what the experience that they have, right? And on that note, I'll just be going to the lab session just to show us this process, right? Show us how to implement the guardrails, and we see live how to do this within AWS Bedrock, and we see how the guardrails affect or secure our AI application. So I'll just need just a few seconds to share my screen where I'll be doing that test. So just just a second, so I can share my screen where. So please, so all right. So this is just a sample app, right? And I'll just be testing. So this is just a sample app. It's just basically texts, right? Texts. So this is how the app looks. If you can see my screen, just a second. Um, so we're just going to walk through building our simple app and implementing guardrails into it. So it's just so I'll run the app without our guardrails configured, and we see the kind of questions that we can ask, and we'll walk through the process of configuring the guardrails and seeing how we affect this particular application. So let me just run this. I think it's up already. Okay, so say hi. Okay, so yes, this is our response from. So this is just the response from your simple app, right? We're using Amazon's Nova Micro, right? And right now we haven't configured the guardrail. So if you look at my application, the code base, our guardrail hasn't been configured yet. So let's just ask a generic question. So let's use the example scenario we're using. So imagine we want to build healthcare and we don't want it to provide financial advice, right, to our application. So I'll show the AI application with providing the financial advice. So let me just ask you a question. How can I so, sorry, just wanted to confirm. Go how can I Tesla stocks. So this is the guardrails. I'm sorry, the AI application showing us Tesla stocks. So I just want to confirm that my screen is sorry. So it's answering to purchase Tesla stocks. You need to. So we just see that the AI application answers our question with Tesla stocks. And we don't want it to provide this kind of response, right? We want it to just if it's not something related to healthcare, just don't provide any response. And we'll just go to AWS console and we'll configure our guardrails and let's do that. So just a second. So this is within AWS. So we'll just walk through creating our guardrails. So um, let's just call this AWS. Let's just call this healthcare app guardrail. And so this is so if the guardrail isn't providing a response, if you don't want guardrail to provide a response, I should say, sorry, the model cannot answer this question, right? And we just walk through this process. And we want to turn on, right? This is process of configuring your guardrail policies. We already have our requirements. It's a healthcare app. We don't need to provide harmful responses. We don't need to provide, we want it to block all malicious prompts. And also wanted to provide, we don't want it to provide financial advice, right? So those are our requirements. So the next step is configuring your policies. So yes, configure your harmful category filters. So if you see there's like a range, right? You can set a threshold of how effective you want this to be. And just for sake of testing, I'll reduce all of these to low and just continue. So also wanted to block malicious prompts. And we'll test all of these. So now this is where we add our denied topics. So denied topics is where you can add the topics that you do not want your AI model to respond to. And one of the first things, according to organizational requirements, is that we don't want it to respond to financial advice, right? So we just block financial advice, financial or investment advice. So could just define. So let's just use what AWS has here. Investment advice. So we just explain the type of investment advice that we don't want it to respond to. Just do something very simple. Stocks, um, shares, and anything related to it. So, so we wanted to block all of this, right? So we wanted to block. So here we can see there's the input section and there's the output section. So in the input section, you wanted to block any prompt that has any sort of financial advice going in, right? And also you don't want the AI model to produce any response that has any form of financial or investment advice. So it's going to block that also. So we can there are two um actions. So you can either block it or you can just detect it. So you detect within AWS and you're not blocking it. So AWS just takes note. You could send that to your login services like CloudWatch, right? Just to detect all of these. But there'll be no blocking. So it will still provide the response, but it would just detect it, but it wouldn't block it. But we want to block it as part of our test. So we could also, so another thing is you could add sample phrases. So sample phrases such as, where should I invest my money? So this can add another sample phrase such as, what stocks should I buy? Another sample phrase such as um, should I how can I own, let me just do something generic. How can I own shares in the how can I own shares in a company? So just something, just sample phrases, and we can continue. Sure. So we'll just use that deny topic for now, and we'll just continue. Um, so also we want to filter profanity. We don't want um, words, right, like profane words to go into our AI model, and also we don't want our model to respond with profane words. So you can turn on this profanity filter, and also just do the same thing, which is to block and block it on the input, block it on the model response also. And we can add custom words, the kind of words that we want to block, right? The kind of words that we don't want to allow to go into our input. So we see that Amazon guardrails is really comprehensive, right, when it comes to the security of your AI model. All right, but we'll just skip this for now, and we'll go to other things. And so there's also PII, right? So you can use guardrails and Bedrock to also detect um, personal identifiable information, PII, right? And also block PIIs from being passed into your AI model, right? Because sometimes you can people pass these things into AI models, and models are trained on they're trained with this. We've seen situations where people pass in PII, and then these models are trained with this PII and they respond with this PII. So we don't want it to detect that, right? Or mask it or block such from even going into our model, or from our models even responding with such kind of information. Right. So we can add there are different PIIs, there's a name, there's the phone numbers, email. It's really comprehensive, right? So let's do something, let's, because we're talking about finance, so let's block everything concerning CVV. We don't want to see any CVV number. um we don't want to see anything credit card related, so credit card expiry numbers. We don't want to see anything on card number. Don't want to see any personal identification number. And finally, we don't want to see anything international bank account number. So we can block this, and there are different, as I mentioned, there are different things, actions to carry out when it comes to PII. You could block, you can mask. So mask is that it would be redacted. So it will respond, but with the information redacted, right? So you could mask it, or you could detect it and just allow it to provide a response and detect within your AWS service, right? But we're just going to block all of that. And you can add regex patterns if you want to go into comprehensive blocking. And maybe there's some particular type of sensitive information that you want to block or filter, and you can do that here. But we'll just skip that and go to the next session. So there's also the contextual grounding check, and what this does within guardrails is to help prevent AI models from hallucinating, right? And so ensuring that the response that our models provide, right, are when I say they align to what we provide as reference sources. So if we click enable grounding check here, we can set the confidence. So what the guardrail is going to check is check how confident this response is, and how does it align with the information provided in our reference source. So we'll set that also. Um, and if it doesn't align, right, according to the threshold that we sent, it's just going to block it. So if the response, so for example, if we ask a question in healthcare and it's meant to provide, because of how sensitive um, um, healthcare guidance can be, or advice in the healthcare industry, if it doesn't align with what we think is correct, factually correct, we're going to block all those type of responses. So that's what grounding does. It just helps the AI from um, hallucinating, right? Because that's something that AI models do a lot. So this is what it does. We're just going to skip this for now, just because we're doing something really simple. So you can turn on grounding check and relevance to ensure that it's relevant to the query that the question that the user, or the prompts that the user is passing to your AI model, right? And block responses that don't align to that particular question or prompt. So we just go next. So this is where we review our guardrail policies, right? We've called it the healthcare app guardrail. This is the message. So if it's if the response, right, doesn't align with what we've set, it is going to respond with, sorry, the model cannot answer this question, right? And we've enabled all these policies here, and block all of all this personal identifiable information. So let's just create our guardrail and see how it looks. So when you create your guardrail, one thing Amazon also helps you to do is to test your guardrail even within the console. So you could test your guardrail here. You could select a particular model that you have access to within your Amazon Bedrock service and test your guardrail here, right? We could just do that. But I'll just skip that and just go to testing in my environment. And so we have our working draft, and the process is after testing your guardrails. Remember the third step I mentioned, right? Just to test and refine your policies. So after testing your guardrails, you can then publish, right, and create a version, like a working version, which you can now use in your um, environment, right, with your application. So let's just go ahead and publish, because of the kind of test we're doing. So we'll just create this version, and I'll just call it test version 1. So our guardrail has been created. And so to use this programmatically, two things will be needed, which is our guardrail ID, right? And that's this particular guardrail ID. If you can see, that's it over here. So our guardrail ID, and also we would need our version number. So your guardrail ID and your version number are two things that you need to test your guardrails within your application. So let's just go straight up to application. So this is where we're putting our guardrail ID, and our version number is 1. So let's just run this and see how it works within our application. So same question we've asked. So let's ask, how can I? So first, let's ask, how are you? Just to run a simple test with our AI model. So that's our AI model responding. I'm here ready to help you with any questions or information you need. So remember, we want to ask it the same questions concerning um, stocks. So how can I purchase? Let's just ask, how can I purchase Tesla stocks? And sorry, let's test this. Sorry, I didn't enable this. Um, so I just commented out of code just to check that. So let's run our test again. How are you? So that's the AI responding Nova Micro. And if you ask it the question concerning, so we see our gadget working with our AI application. So responding, sorry, the model cannot answer this question. So let's ask another question. How can I buy stocks? Just something generic. Response also, sorry, the model cannot answer this question. So we see how now with the use of guardrails, we have constrained our AI model to align with our organizational requirements, right? And also, let's just ask a question on using profane words, right? So trying to see what profane words I can use. Let's try this. This is foolish. And so for example, I love this because this is how we see how um when I was talking about testing, right? So you see how you need to test your guardrails, and testing your guardrails to ensure that it aligns with the kind of configurable policies that you want, like the organizational requirements. So you have to keep testing. So because I didn't go in and set a denied topic, right? I'll have to go back and test again, right? Like I'm testing right now and have to go back and realign my guardrail policies to align with the kind of outputs that I want, right? So that's where testing comes in. So you test your guardrail policies and you refine them, ensure that it aligns with your organizational requirements, and also that it aligns with your um, organizational requirements and just aligns with responsible AI policies, right? So that's where testing comes in. So we can continue to go on and on with this, but I'll just stop here for now because we see how the guardrails work. So we can continue with the presentation and stop sharing. So let me just go back. So that just shows us just a bit on how to use guardrails within our AI applications. That was just a simple um, chatbot like application, right? And you can do this in a more comprehensive manner, even with AWS Bedrock guardrails, right? And use it to secure your application. So just so as I mentioned, that's the lab. So as I mentioned, there are key challenges when it comes to guardrails, which is guardrails can be really sensitive. So if you see the threshold, right, with the threshold, when we're checking out the how to configure these policies, as you continue to move the policies around with their thresholds, the guardrails response can be really sensitive, and that's why you always have to test, right? So sensitivity is one of the challenges when it comes to guardrails, and it affects how your users experience your applications or the kind of responses they expect from your application. So it's something to always check for. And finally, the other one I've noticed is also inconsistency. So when you set up your guardrails in your console, right, there's always some difference between how your guardrails work in console and also how you um, programmatically access your guardrails. There's always some kind of inconsistency here and there. So you have to test these things before going live in production, right? Testing is a solution to the challenges with guardrails, right? And that just brings us to just to round off, right? So we know that guardrails, AWS guardrails as a whole in AI are essential, right? They are no longer optional, and we must ensure that we establish configurable policies, right? Guardrail policies that are aligned with our organizational requirements, right? And ensure that all these things are aligned, are configured properly, right? And it is essential to prevent unsafe model behavior, unsafe responses, and ensure that it aligns with our standards. And also, um, because of the inconsistencies, right? Guardrails and implementing guardrails with your AI applications or your AI models require continuous testing, continuous validation, and refinement, right? To maintain integrity and also to maintain a wonderful user experience for your users. And finally, right, secure AI is not just we're not just having guardrails as I'll call them. They're not just technical controls. No, right. Implementing guardrails is you, in a way, committing to building secure and trustworthy and ethical AI applications, right? So ensuring that you implement your guardrails with continuous monitoring and um, proper feedback loops, right? That's what kind of gives you a more robust, secure AI application. And that just brings us to the end of this presentation today. And I'm sure you learned a lot on how to implement guardrails within your AI application and how it can help um, provide a responsible AI model and also ensure that your AI applications are used in a secure manner. And thank you very much, everyone.
Amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. Sheesh. I was like, overload of knowledge. Overload of knowledge. Thank you so much, Ayomide. Amazing, amazing stuff. I believe everyone has learned something. But while we are marinating on that, I think we have a couple. I think we have a question in the chat, so I'll just read it out. That you can answer. So the question says that my question is: do you need to manually define the policies at scale? For example, if my model needs to reach a large target audience. So could you give your angle on that question? I think you're muted. Yeah.
So, do you need to manually define policies at scale? For example, if my model needs to reach a large. I'm trying to understand what you mean by defined policies at scale. Do you mean do you have to do this manually, like via the console? If that is the question, no, you can do this via programmatic access to you can do this via your you can use your programmatic access. You can use your SDKs if you're building an application, right, to define your policies, right? You can pass them via programmatic access and just set like using AWS Bedrock service, right? To just set these policies and not have to go into the console. We're just going through the console because of testing, right? So yes, I hope that answers your question.
Okay, all right. So, if thank you very much for that answer. If you also have, if anyone else has any other question, you can drop it in the chat quickly while AI is here. I think I have a question. I'd just like to a little clarity on. So particularly when it comes to like breaking breaking control. So let's say this is what is meant to do that. Okay, you don't want hate speech, you don't want this and all of that. Is this something that I'm just asking, right? Is this something that AWS is continually improving on? Right. So in that sense, because I remember early on when ChatGPT had this whole thing and people were using ChatGPT to even get like Microsoft license keys, for example, right? So crazy stuff out there. So is it something that okay, AWS is saying okay, currently this is where we're at the model, but we're improving it. So is this something that is being improved over time so that people don't get so we're trying to avoid people to get the same kind of result to make sure they
Mhm.
keep not
Yeah.
getting that kind
Yeah,
of result.
that's a great question. Yes, definitely. AWS as a whole, right, commits to building responsible AI, right? So first off, even the models that they use, like the AI models that AWS builds, are built with responsible AI in mind, right? And also guardrails are always being improved. The models, the systems that are used in guardrails are always being improved to ensure that new prompts attacks, right? So malicious prompts, because attackers are always improving their malicious prompts, definitely. So there was, for example, Dan prompts, right? For ChatGPT, do anything now prompts. There are different versions. I've seen up to version 12, but AWS commits to improving their guardrails to ensure that even as these prompts come up, um, as a whole, right, the guardrails also can detect and prevent these prompts for malicious prompts and from being used. So, yeah.
Okay, I think we have one more question. I think our time will be able to take this one. So, someone's asking, how is the billing for Bedrock? Are there light projects we can work on for low cost? So that where about the
Yeah.
money, the dollars, it's
So
expensive.
from my experience, I would say one way is to navigate via the different models. So in AWS Bedrock, there are different models. There's Anthropic, there's Metas, there are different models, and Amazon also has its own models, and these models have different versions. So one way to let's say navigate billions and low cost is to use lower models that kind of provide the same type of results that you want. So for example, Anthropic AI model could cost a lot per invocation, right? And you can say, oh, I just want a chatbot that just wants to do something specific. Or Amazon Nova, right, actually is cheaper. So let me just go with Amazon Nova. And that's a way to um achieve using low cost, like using these models like on low cost. So just go for maybe a cheaper model. You can check I don't have the figures now, but you can check for the different costs per model, right? And go for a cheaper model that does the same thing, right? That you want to achieve. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely right. Yeah, I think I'm not seeing any more questions. I think that should be all the questions we have right now. So I guess people can reach out to you on LinkedIn or wherever, right? If they have like personal
Yeah.
more questions. All right. So thanks so much,
Thank you.
Ayomide. Thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate the topic. And we learned a lot. Thank you. Yeah. All right. I think next up we should have our game session. Um, where we are cahoots. So we have a game session where we have like thank you Ayomide in the chat, by the way. Just thank you, Amide. You can spam that in the chat. Thank you, Amide. Thank you, AY. Right. You got all this knowledge for free. You did not pay for the course, for any course. So can I just have thank you, Amide. Thank you. All right. Wow. So just okay. So I think we're moving on to the games. So the link is in the chat. It's also being displayed on the screen. So it's ahaslides.com/4ndw8. The link is also in the chat. Um, the link's also in the chat. So yes, so everyone, you can join in. This is where you are able to win the prize for today. Uh, okay, join in, everyone join in. Okay, waiting. So all you have to do is you can scan the QR code on the screen, or you can visit ahaslides.com/4ndw8. Okay. Uh, okay, we're seeing some people. Taiwo, B Girl, SAO, David. Okay, how many more people? Someone else. Remember that you have AWS credits for the first position. So okay. Chi, we have Chi. Chi has joined. Okay, let's take a few more people. Okay, I think I can see GP. GP has joined as well. Yeah, like I said, the link is in the chat, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. Okay, yeah, okay. Atom, like I say, Atom. I can see IJ also joined. Atom, IJ. Okay, we'll be starting soon. Mm. Anyone else joining? We have 7 people already. Can we get up to 10? Okay, we're starting in 1 minute. We're starting in 1 minute. So if you want to join, you can join in now. We start in 1 minute. 8. Okay, we have 8 people now. Who's the 8 person? So you want to. Okay. 30 seconds. We're starting in 30 seconds. And the game will be on. Are you guys ready? 20 seconds. If you want to join in now. Once it's over, it's over. Okay. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's have it. So, what is Amazon Bedrock primarily used for? What is Amazon Bedrock primarily used for? What's the answer? What is Amazon Bedrock primarily used for? Okay, everyone has answered. Let's see the answers. Okay. Wow. Okay. Everyone is on the roll. Good start. Good start. Who was the fastest? SEO. Okay. Let's see the next question then. Which of the following is not a core function of guardrails in Gen AI systems? Not a core function. Ensuring compliance, enforcing, preventing, customizing. So what's the answer? Okay, customizing infrastructure costs. So who is leading? Who's leading? SEO. All right. Oh, Sam. Sam is number one right now, tied with David. Okay. What is the first recommended step when implementing guardrails in a GenAI application? What is the first step? What is the first step? First recommended step. Okay. Everyone has answered. Wow. Okay. Let's see. Let's see who would be on top now. Let's see who on top. Wow. Sam. Hmm. Interesting. All right. Next question. Which of these challenges is mentioned in the context of guardrail implementation? Okay. All right. So take that question again. Which of these challenges is mentioned in the context of guardrail implementation? Which of these challenges is mentioned in the context of guardrail implementation? Okay. Oh, guardrails over sensitivity. So who's winning? Uh, wow. Sam's David is closely behind. But Sam's on a roll. Okay, last question. What is described as the final step in effective guardrails implementation? Final step. What's the final step? Okay, final step. Let's go. Ooh. Okay, who is winning? Wow. Wow. Tables have turned. Atom, congratulations to Atom, 395 points. Congratulations. So Atom won first place. So what you should do is to send, take a screenshot of this, right, and send us an email to the email displayed on the screen right now. AWS Cloud Sec West Africa at gmail.com. Again, AWS Cloud Sec West Africa at gmail.com. The email is displayed on the screen. So if you're the one, take a screenshot, send it to us. Yeah, so that we can send you your AWS credits. Okay, congratulations once again. Congratulations, Atom. Right. So thank you everyone for your time. Thank you for being present here. Everyone from both our people from Lagos, our people from Kenya, our people from Canada. We had all kinds of people from across the world. Thank you so much for being here. So don't forget that tomorrow we have another session tomorrow, leveraging Amazon Bedrock for incident response, and it will be same time, right? 6 p.m. West African time, same time tomorrow as well. So we have a session tomorrow, right? So you'd see it on YouTube. Go there so that I can get notification once we're live, right? So go there, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you set the notification on so that you can know as soon as we're live and you can hop in, right? It's going to be an amazing time, an amazing speaker. It's going to be amazing. So get set for tomorrow's session. And thank you so much for being present. A huge shout out to AWS for making this possible so that we can learn and grow in our craft. So I think until next time, I'll see you. Take care. Bye, everyone.